Hey guys, how are you doing? How is everybody doing today? It's good to be back here, and it's good to see everybody who is joining right here, right now. Let me just ask you guys this thing right now, that if you are watching this video right now, please press the like button and also share if you can. All right, share if you can with your friends, share if you can with your loved ones, because we need to talk. All right. If you have a friend, or you are in a relationship, and then someone come to you, let's say your girlfriend or your boyfriend texts you that, hey, we need to talk, something is not right, something is not good. And that's how I say today at the beginning here, that we need to talk, because really we need to talk. We have been talking about these things all the time, and even right now we're going to talk about this. And I kind of feel like we need to have this conversation. It's very important for us to have this conversation day in, day out. All right. But thanks for everybody who is joining here. I appreciate you guys that you're joining from everywhere. I love you guys. I love you that you're here. I love that you are still pushing for the agenda of One Africa. I love that we are still pushing for the agenda right now of African Union passports. I just love the fact that you guys are right there. It's very important for us to stand and fight. It's very important for us to stand and demand and ask. It's because it's for our generation, right? It's for our generation. It's for our kids. And to be honest with you guys, I'm fighting for, my generation, fighting for my kids. All right. I'm fighting for my kids, the kids of my brother and sister. I'm fighting for my kids, because I do believe that the way the world is right now, the way Africa is right now, is not the way it's going to be after we are gone, after this generation is gone. I don't want to leave Africa the same way I came, the same way I saw Africa, but I want to leave Africa in a different state. All right. I want to leave a better Africa for my kids, so that when they come, when God give me, when the time come and God give me my own kids, they'll live in a world that it will be a much better place. And not only that, but for them, they will have another mission, to preserve, to continue to protect, to continue to honor, and to continue to fight for this beautiful continent that we love. You know what I'm saying? So that's what you're doing. That's what I am doing. That's what we are doing for this continent. So, what we're doing right now, it might not seem to be necessary, or it might not seem to be important, but it is very important. It is very important, it is very important. And I feel like I'm late, with my age. I'm 29 years of age right now, but I feel like I'm late. I feel like I was supposed to start doing this when I was 19 years of age, or 15 or 17. That's how I feel, but I don't know how long I'm going to live. All right. You don't know how long you're going to live. We've been given, the certain amount of time, and, it's our responsibility to use that time. And this is the worth of fighting for. All right. It's the worth of a battle, me and you, that we are fighting for. It's a worth. It is very important. It is very important, because I don't know if you guys ask yourself sometimes, but I do ask myself sometimes this question, that why am I alive? Why am I here right now? Why am I here right now? And thank God that I am an independent. Thank God that we have an organization that we run by ourselves, and we get to say what we feel, and we get to say what we see, and we get to do what we want to do for our people. I love the fact that God has given us that ability, because, if it was something else, if it was otherwise, if, let's say, I was working in the government or working for the government, then it would be really hard to say other things that we say, because you need to align whatever that you do with what the government says. Right. And in a very strange way, I was talking to a friend right before this. In a very strange way, that's how it is in Africa. Right. It is in Africa. Like, if you are a leader that have been appointed by the president, you're basically working for the president. You're not working for your people, but you're working for your president, because you need to answer to your president. So think about this. If your president is not working for the people, then the entire government is not working for the people. And likewise, if your president is working for the people, then the whole leadership is working for the people, because you're working for the president who is working for the people. You understand what I'm saying? it in a very fair way. If I was the leader, if in a very fair way, all of us, when we are in a public duty and to serve our people, basically we need to work for the people. So even if I am the leader and I appoint you to work for my country, basically you have to work for the people of that country. That means you have to question me. That means you don't have to agree with me in everything that I say. If you think that whatever that Mika is saying is not for the sake of our people, is not for the goodness of our people, you can disagree with me and say, no, I don't agree with this. But this is something that is not really happening in Africa, I think, because of the leadership structure the way it is. If it happens, then it happened in a very small perspective. But you can see even in the normal scale, small scales, not only government, but the small scales like, companies and schools and all these different stuff, different organizations and institutions, you will see that, once you are selected or you're chosen by the top leader of that company or of that institution, you basically work for that boss. You work for your boss. Which, in fact, the whole concept of leadership is not about, working for money. It's not about, working for yourself. It's not about working for this organization, but it's for you working for the people. That's the whole concept of leadership. And I think these days we manipulate it a lot. And, and you cannot call everybody a leader. Even me, myself, like if you don't think like I qualify to be a leader, don't even call me a leader. Because a leader is someone that is leading people for the people. A leader is someone that is working his job for the people. A leader is someone that he is there to represent the people. A leader is someone that when you look at the leader, you see the people. If people are in pain, you look at leaders and you see that pain. If people are happy, you look at leader and you see that happy. Leader he has to be a reflection of the people that they're leading. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm being very careful to call everybody leader because, not everyone represents that leadership. And even me, I will tell you guys, you can call me a leader if you see that I reflect, that leadership. I reflect the people because that's the whole concept of leadership. That's how it's supposed to be. We are supposed to serve the people that we're leading. We're supposed to serve the people that we're leading. That's the whole concept of leadership. And so today we're going to be talking about this. It's very, in a way, it's a very sensitive topic. And I'm going to be reading one article here with you guys today. It's very important. And I want everybody who, if you're intellectual here, if you're a critical thinker, if you're someone that you think a lot, today, this session, you're going to love it because it's a session for that. It's a session for that. I want you guys to think with me. We're just going to go through this article from beginning to the end. And then at the end, I'm going to open up the space for you guys to come and to actually contribute. Because I think that is very important. I'm going to open the page today for you guys to come and to contribute. So if you are a critical thinker, you think a lot, if you are a victim, if you know, like today's session is going to be very important for you to come and to contribute as well. So without wasting time, guys, I'm going to put this article right here. As I say, the paradox of Africa's conflict. I'm going to read this article that was actually written on 2014. All right, this article was written 2014, but I think it's something that we need to go back and to read and to remind ourselves a little bit about a few things. All right, and you guys can come and you can actually contribute. Whatever that you have in your mind, you can come, you can share, you can come, you can. All right, I want to think with you guys today. So it's gonna be really cool session today. But if you are someone that you love learning and you love understanding, then this will help you a lot. All right. All right, I'm going to read this article. Okay, I'm going to put this article right here and I'm going to read. All right, the name of this article is The African Paradox. All right, and I want you guys to to come as well to contribute. All right, just bear with me. I'll go, slowly from beginning to the end to read this out. And this is what it says. Africa now embodies the fears and hopes of humanity. It's so true, 100%. Africa now embodies the fears and hopes of humanity. Okay, and then you have that African map and you have all these gold coins. Okay, I'll start reading from here. This was written by Dominique Moïse, and this is the Frenchman, guys. I want to remind you that this is the Frenchman. In March 12, 2014 at 9 a.m. This is what he started to say. All right, I'm going to read with you guys. Bear with me, and then I'm going to give you a session to come and to contribute as well. Earlier this month, the trial of Pascal Simbikangwa, accused of complicity in the genocide in Rwanda, in which 800,000 people were killed between April and June 1994, began in Paris. Full stop. Unfortunately, mass killings in Africa continue. In South Sudan, Africa's newest state, massacres of civilians are still taking place, particularly around the city of Bor, and French military intervention in the Central African Republic has not put an end to severe intercommunal violence there. Mind you guys, this is the Frenchman writing this article. Yet, paradoxically, even as such episodes continue to occur in Africa, perhaps on a large scale than anywhere else in the world, the continent has also become a beacon of hope. Indeed, the perpetuation of extreme violence constructs strikingly with Africa's favorable demographic profile and its economy and even political and social progress in recent years. Let me extend a little bit. One way to think about this paradox is in terms of the closing of 4-century-long parenthesis. Since the 17th century, Africa has been mainly an object of history. Its people were first treated by the slave trade as mere commodities necessary for economic growth elsewhere. I'm going to read that again, okay? And I remember I didn't pray. Let me just raise a word of prayer before we continue. God, I thank you for this session today. Well, it's going to be a very interesting one. And I thank you for giving me life and giving me an opportunity to sit here and to lead this conversation. May your spirit guide us and lead us from the beginning all the way to the end. In your precious name, Jesus, I pray. Amen. Let me repeat here again. One way to think about this paradox is in terms of closing of a 4-century-long parenthesis. Since the 17th century, Africa has been mainly an object of history. Its people, an object of history. Its people were first treated by the slave trade as mere commodities necessary for economic growth elsewhere. That's the reason why Africa was colonized. That's the reason why we were colonized. That's the reason why those guys came to Africa and, occupied Africa. Just like the way you take gold, oil, diamond, the same way Africans were taken back then as the slaves, as commodities, being sold. So back in the days, this slave master, they will actually sell this guy for couple coins to another slave master. Commodities. But it was not for nothing. All these things were done. It was necessary for economic growth in their countries. Again, guys, this article was not written by an African. It was written by a Frenchman. Then, colonial powers carved up the continent artificially and arbitrarily, masking the greed behind noble-sounding goals. Theirs was a civilizing mission. I need to highlight all of this. So one of the very interesting part before I move on, I was talking with one of my friends today, and he said it's very interesting that, we all know how Africa was divided like a piece of cake, during colonialism. And so everybody kind of like got at different places in this Africa, right? If me, I got Tanzania, there's another guy got Kenya, Uganda, Somalia right there, Rwanda. Like they divided all this stuff. And even African leaders, when they started to fight for independence, when they started to fight for the independence, you know what happened? Yes, this guy, colonizers, they say, you know what, we're going to give you independence, but we're not going to take this line. These lines, they have to stay there. We're going to keep these lines. And in order for you, Tanzanian, to go to Kenya, if you pass through this line, it's going to be illegal. So you're going to need to have a passport, something called passport. So you Tanzanians, you are in here, you need to have your own passport, you need to have your own papers. You guys are in Kenya, you need to have your own passport, you need to have your own paper. You cannot cross this line without anything. These lines that were brought there, not us, people created it, they created it. So even though Africa gained its own independence, all these countries gained their own independence in their own time, yet there were still all these lines that are hindering one nation and another nation to trade, one nation and another nation to communicate, one nation and another. These lines, they were still benefiting. These lines that were there for economic growth, for economic purposes. That if we break these lines and you're here and you guys get back together again, I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to power of Africa, economic transformation of Africa, whatever it is. Not so we're going to make sure that does happen. So these lines are here, and your passport will be the one to create it for you guys to move from one country and another country. And we didn't even end there. We even started with the visa thing. We introduced visa so that for you guys, if you want to visit Kenya, you need to apply for visa to go there. Right now, it's a different case because you have EAC, so you don't have to apply for visa. But it's the same thing if I want to come to Ethiopia or if I want to go to other countries, I need to apply for visa because we still have these lines. And for you African, in order to go to another African country, you need to have a passport, you need to apply for visa to go there. Just like the same way of you African, if you want to go to United States, if you want to go to Europe, if you want to go to Asia, you need to have a passport and you need to apply for visa to go there for economic purposes. Mind you, visa and passport and all this stuff, it was not our ideas. Today, you cannot go anywhere in Africa, in most of countries, without a visa. The system that we didn't create it, without a passport. Passport that they created themselves. Somebody needs to help me in the comment section right now. Passport, like who is really creating our passport, the passport that we're using? Let me try to check here right now. All right, let me try to check here right now, even in my country, to check the passport that I'm using, who is creating those passports. If you know, please let me know in the comment section. Let me see here. Does anyone find anything? Who creates our passport right now? Let me see here. I'm gonna see here because I wanna find something. Okay, I see that. All right, so this system, they were introduced right? And now, at that time, so we still have the same system today, because you cannot move from your country to another country without a visa, and yet you're independent. Mind you, before that, colonialism, we didn't have that. And now we have completely a new system that has been introduced by the Western. It's right there, still operating today. And you have these borders. And today, if you want to travel in Africa, it's the most expensive countries to travel in Africa than going to Europe in Africa. And ask yourself why. Let's continue. Later, during the first half of the 20th century, Africa offered the blood of its inhabitants and then recourse to its territories, to a European continent in the throes of 2 world wars. And in the second half of the 20th century, after a brutal anti-colonial struggle, Africa's newly independent countries became proxies, battling grounds in the Cold War. So listen this again. Later, during the first half of the 20th century, Africa offered the blood of its inhabitants and then recourse to its territories, to a European continent in the throes of 2 world wars. You all know those stories. And in the second half of the 20th century, after a brutal anti-colonial struggle, this was the time that our forefather fought so hard. Here in the case of Ethiopia, you guys, you know your story. You know the Battle of Adwa. In other African countries, you guys, you know how so many people died fighting a lot of wars against colonial power to just gain our own independence in our own continent, in our own land. The land that we own, the land that it was full of peace, the land like it was like Garden of Eden. That's another name of Africa. We had to shed blood, sweat, and tears because Africans woke up and they say, no, we cannot continue to be slaves to these guys. This is our land. We must fight for our own independence. They asked for independence a couple of times. It didn't work. We had to go on a war. And so many people died fighting for Africa's independence, fighting for their own homes, fighting for their own land. Africa's newly independent countries become proxy battlegrounds in the Cold War. Even yet after the fighting of this independence, and we gained independence, that was actually the beginning of our Cold Wars internally. Because mind you, when we were colonized, these guys, they were not just there to colonize us, but they were there to establish the system that is going to divide Africa, the system that is going to separate Africa, the system that is going to be about visa and passport, the system that is not going to be that you are my neighbor. No. You are another country, I'm another country. You speak French, I speak English. No, you're not. No, you are in another tribe, I'm in another tribe. Because that's what they always did. Turning your own people against yourself. Coming to your house and take one weak guy, and that weak guy becomes a puppet of this whatever colonial power. And he's selling you guys to these guys. And you guys, you hate that guy. And then the battle continues. So now we are giving you independence, guys, but still our system continues to work for you. Our borders continue to work for you. Yes, we're going to leave your continent, but yet we're going to trap you with our debt. We're going to trap you with our loans. And not only that, we're still going to have traders in your own countries who will always collaborate with, will always ask to watch over you. They'll always give us reports. So even though we are not in your land as the colonizers, but we'll be in your land like as supporters. We'll be in your land as NGOs. We'll be in your land as the saviors, as investors, as the developers. We'll be in your land in different form. We cannot come with guns. We cannot come with that. No, we'll come in a different way. You need us to support you. But mind you, these are the same people who saw potential in Africa, They came, colonized, taking people away, turn our people against ourselves. And then they come back again. They never changed their aim. They never changed their purpose. It's the same exact purpose, but different ways right now, because our forefathers, they were smart enough to fight against colonial power. We gain our independence. But now you have your independence, but you're still poor. You are still poor. You need to develop. You need to have good infrastructure. You need to have industries. You guys, you need to have this and this. You need to have long building and tall buildings. You need to have that. And we are the one can help you because we are developed. And you know how they were developed? Because of right here. They were first treated by slave trade as merely commodities necessary for economic growth elsewhere. The reason why they are where they are, it's because of the exploitation of Africa ever since colonialism. It's because of our fathers and mothers who were taken a long time ago and brought to their countries to build their nations, to work slaves, being treated like commodities, to work day and night in America, in the UK, in different parts of this world, to develop them. So Africa today, you call yourself poor, you call yourself that, oh, I'm not developed, I'm a developing country. But you don't remember that you are the reason why the world is at the place where it is right now. You don't realize that you are the reason why there's a superpower nation like America today. You don't realize that why are they there, where they are. You don't realize that you are the source. You don't realize that you have been sustaining the world all this time. And yet, they're coming back in the form of investment, the form of loans, the form of aid to support Africa. What I'm talking about today, guys, it's the most difficult topic. Like I can feel it as I'm saying, I can feel it as I'm talking. Like I'm touching 100% the truth. And it is difficult, but we need to talk about it. We need to remind our people. Because I want you guys to remember who you are. I want Africans to remember who we are. We are not poor. We're not dumb. We're not stupid. We developed this world. We are the source of civilization. We developed their countries. Yes, we didn't do it willingly, but we were taken as a slave. And everything that was belonged to Africa is not belonging to Africa anymore. Somebody else owns, somebody else controls, somebody else uses it for their own good. Yes, we gain independence. We have independence, we celebrate it. Yes, we're independent, Africa, we're independent. But that was the beginning of Cold War because yet our mind, they were still colonized. Because let me tell you this, another thing that they did, those guys, they have a plan for 200 years. If we want to beat them, we need to outsmart them. And let me tell you this, why Cold Wars started right after the independence. Things started erupting all across the continent of Africa. Because the leaders that were there, most of the leaders that were there in Africa, they were basically right there. They were put right there by them. They went to start in the UK. They started in the US. And that's what they're really good at, those guys. Give you the whole knowledge you should know from the West, because that is the best knowledge you need to govern your people. Because the motto of leading and transforming your country has to be the US. The democracy of your country has to be like them. And everything about your country has to be exactly like them. And so we're going to give you scholarship to come to study. We're going to pay for everything you need. We're going to give you everything you need. And when you go back to your country, we're going to support you with everything we got for you to become a leader. And you'll be there representing us. Even without knowing, I'm telling you, there are people back then, they were leading the countries, knowing that they are leading. They don't even know that they are actually there for someone else. So now you have independent Africa, but you still have all these systems that were already settled there by them. And you still have all these contracts. You still have French all over Africa, still paying the colonial tax to them in so many countries. They're still there, still own the majority of companies. That's why today in Africa, I'll tell you this. Yes, we say the richest country in Africa economically is Nigeria, but let me ask you this. How many companies in Nigeria are owned by the local people? How many companies in our countries are owned by our own African people? Then eventually you realize that you don't really have you don't really have that. Because most of the companies, billion companies that are owning the land, owning the mining sectors, owning all these parts, they're not owned by Africans. Most of them, they're owned by them. That's why for this, I really need to say kudos to Ethiopia. Because I was talking to somebody today, he's actually also from my country, and he was saying that the richest country in Africa is Ethiopia. And I was like, well, I know it's Congo. And he was like, this is the only place that everything you see is owned by local people. So if your people own everything you have, then you're rich. Because your people owning everything there. But if you have a country and a lot of billionaires or all this ownership are owned by somebody else, then you have a problem, because whatever that you're owning, the only money that is being paid there is taxes. But the rest of the profit and everything money, it's owned by their government. It's going back home. So Africa, it's a battleground not only for cold wars, but also it's a battleground for economics. That's why they say Africa is poor. They say Africa is poor because they know they own everything in Africa. You're sitting on a land. If you go to Congo, if you ride a plane from Congo, and then you go like 1,000 meters away, and then you go to another country, you go to the US or whatever, the same way you're rising up. If you dig down deep, you'll find gold, you'll find diamond, you'll find all these minerals. Our people are sitting. Our houses are built on the land that is full of so much richness, man. You have everything. You have gold, you have diamond, you have oil, everything. Our people are sitting on them. Yet our people are the most poorest people in the whole entire world. If this is not hurting you guys, I don't know why. What will hurt you guys? In Africa, every single African should be a billionaire. Every single African should be a billionaire. But our people are suffering and struggle. And yet this is the most richest land you'd ever find in this entire world. But what we see every single day, it's a battleground. Our countries, Africa is a battleground for war, simply because of the richness that God has given us. I was looking at the article just October 30th. 150 something people died in Somalia because of the bomb. You go in Congo right now. You go here in Ethiopia. Africa's newly independent countries became proxy battling grounds in the Cold War. We'll give you independence, but you will still using our system, including the borders, the visas, everything. And mind you guys, I understand. Don't start thinking that, oh, we need this for country securities and everything. Don't think that I don't understand that. I'm not dumb that I don't think about that. But I'm saying that there's a way to bring our people together. There must be a way to bring our people together, to go back to the roots, to go back to the Africa is supposed to be, to say no more to fear. We cannot be scared of the slave master anymore. We cannot be scared of that. We cannot be. If slavery really ended, if Africa were really independent, why are we feeling threatened every time we stand for ourselves? Why are we feeling like our lives are going to be end tomorrow if we stand and we speak the truth? Why our leaders should be scared? Why our leaders are scared to speak the truth? If Africa is truly independent, why our leaders, they cannot speak their mind? Why our leaders cannot do things they're supposed to do to develop people's lives without being threatened, without being sanctioned? If we are really independent, why we cannot live the way we want to live in our own continent, in our own land? Why today, in 21st century, that we say Africa is independent, we do not live the way we want to live, we do not speak the way we want to speak, we do not do things the way we want to do things? Why today, if slaves ended? Guys, let me shock you this. I'll tell you this right now. And maybe some of you are not going to like this, but I'll say it anyways. Africa, we are still enslaved. Africa, we're still enslaved. Just like back in the days we were enslaved, we were slaves. We couldn't say anything. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't decide anything for ourselves. The same thing is happening today. You try to do something right for your people. If you're a leader and you try to do something for your people, you die. If you're a leader and you try to do something for your people, you're being sanctioned. If you're a leader, you try to do something for your people, you're not welcomed anymore. Today, Africa is threatened just because of some of the Africans are standing. They don't want to pick side between Russia and Ukraine. They're threatened. Africa is threatened. Definitely, this woman, she went, I forgot even her name. Literally, she threatened Africa that you need to respect the sanction we put on Russia. You need to do that. Africa, we are independent. If we are independent, we should be able to decide for ourselves. We should be able to do whatever the heck we want to do with our people, because it's our continent, it's our land, and it's our people. The pipeline oil from Uganda and Tanzania, you'll see how European Union, they stood up and they say, no, you guys, you have to stop. And I came here, I had a live stream, and I say, you guys are the most hypocrite I've ever seen in the whole world, because you guys are the one who contributed to the pollution of this air. Africa is only contributing 3% of the all pollution you see in the whole world, in the whole damn world. And then today said this is the threat for humankind. Who is telling you? Who is that to point fingers at you that you guys are the threat to the pollution of this air? You guys are the one who did that. Who is that to point fingers at you? Why Africa has to face the consequences of your mistake. Why Africa has to face the consequences of the sin that you have committed. Why today, Africa, we have to pay the price for that. Let us live the way we want to live. We must live the way we want to live. Man, it's even weird for me saying this. Let us live the way we want to live. Guys, yes, it's true. I know. I'm very critical with our people all the time, but not today, guys. Not today, because Africa is still under colonization. It's a difficult statement to make. It's a difficult statement to make, but I'll tell you this. Look at the results of colonization. Look at what our people couldn't do during colonization. The same thing is happening today. Eritrea is under sanction. Zimbabwe is under sanction. Ethiopia, the same thing. Any country that is going to arise against their agenda, you'll be sanctioned. We're not allowed to live the way we want to live. We're not allowed to say what we want to feel, we want to say. We're not allowed to do anything. The moment you say, you just wrote yourself, you sentenced yourself to death. That's why the other day I came here, guys, I said, please, 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 Africans, do not turn on your leader. Do not turn on your leaders. My tone has changed these days. When I talk about African leaders, it has changed. Because, man, Africa is still under colonization. I'm saying that with tears in my eyes. I'm trying to hold myself back right now because it's weird to say that, but it's still, we cannot do anything. We are standing on the ground that is full of so much richness, but our people are still living under deep darkness. Africa. The whole continent. This is the whole continent, guys. Somalia right now there. People are just dying anyhow. Anyhow. Here. Guys. Africa, we don't hate each other that much, man. Africa, we don't despise each other that much. Let's give ourselves a little bit of break, man, for a second. We don't hate each other that much. We don't want to kill each other that much. It's not in our blood. It's not in our nature. It is not in our blood. It's not us. Whenever you have a country that is improving, the people who are awakened, Africa is awakened right now, guys, the same way that we are prepared, the same way that we are awakened right now, man, is the same amount of level that they're going to act, that they're acting right now. It's a difficult word to say, guys. It's a difficult word to say. It's a difficult word to say. Being awakened is a very important thing. It's a very beautiful thing. But I want to tell you, don't lie to yourself that they are sleeping. They ain't sleeping, guys. This is a war. It is a war. When you see what is happening in Africa, when you see civil wars, what happened in Africa, it's not Africans against Africans. Yes, Africans against Africans, they're fighting. But it's a war. And you know what I mean when I say the war? I mean, it's one country against another country. It's one continent against another continent. It's a war. It's not a civil war. It's a war. Whether we believe it or not, Africa is still under colonization. You can't do anything. If it's not, let's have African Union passports. If it's not, let's have our own common currency in Africa. If it's not, let's have our central bank. Let's strengthen our central bank. If it's not, let's make easy of all these visa things. Let's have the visa on arrival in African countries. If Africa is not under colonization, let's have a single passport for all African Union member countries. Let's have a single currency for our people. You all know that's what took down Gaddafi. And yet we say we are independent. Africa is not independent, guys. We're not independent. We're not. We celebrate that. We say, yes, we're independent. Ethiopia, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my brothers and sisters in Ethiopia. I'm sorry. Say, Ethiopia were never colonized. What about now? Why we cannot do what we want to do? Why we cannot build our own dam in peace? Why we cannot make our own decisions in peace without being sanctioned? Why we cannot do that? Why? If we are independent. Open your eyes. We're not independent. We're fighting for the another form of colonialism in Africa right now. And this one right now is the most dangerous colonialism, like the one we had before. This is the most dangerous one. As days goes on, things are getting hard. This is the most dangerous one. You have no idea how our people are fighting against. You have no idea how many threats our leaders are receiving all the time. You have no ideas. And you know, threat is not like, yeah, I'm going to kill you. No, that's not a threat. That's not a threat. That's very like, it sounds like back in the days colonialism. The new age colonialism today, we call neo-colonialism. The new age colonialism today, it's more dangerous than the first one before, because I'm not coming to you with a gun. I'm coming to you with the police. I'm coming with you with the money. Sign this. You don't sign, you don't get this. And yet Africa, we're not awakened enough. Because if we're awakened enough, we'll have African unity as soon as possible. We'll have African Union passport as soon as possible. We'll have African one currency as soon as possible. Instead of promoting the dollars and euros, we'll promote our own African currency. Today, if you want to leave Tanzania to come here to Ethiopia, you need to change your money to dollar, and you need to come here to Ethiopia to change a dollar to a local currency. We are promoting dollars, and our money continue to shrink day after day after day. But if we have our common currency, African currency, that's the one I will carry from my home. I'll come here to Ethiopia. I'll buy things with the same currency, and we'll promote our currency. We promote our economy. We promote the central bank of Africa. If we are not colonized, why we are not doing that? If we are not under colonization, why we are not making decisions that can bring Africa together? What are we scared of? What are we hesitating of? What are we holding? What is holding us back? What is pulling us back to stop us from marching towards the independence that Africa we want? That's why today you leave Africa, you go to any country, and people look at you like a slave. They look at you like a monkey. Doesn't matter how you look, man. Don't fool yourself. It doesn't matter whether you're light skinned or you're green. It doesn't matter, man. You're from the continent of Africa. You are a slave. That's how they'll look at you. That's how they will treat you. That's how our people are struggling every single day out there. And they were not even born in Africa. They were born right there. But until today in America, our people are struggling. They're fighting for just equal rights. Fighting so hard. And yet, say we are independent. Are we really independent, Africa? Are we really independent? Why some of you are watching this and you are scared for me? That Mick, are you going to really make it? Why we have to filter what we want to say? Why we don't have to say what we are feeling, what we see, what we know it's happening? Why all the time we need to explain indirect? Why all the time it needs to be like a conspiracy theory? While things are really open, are really wide, are really right there, out there. We know it because they happen to us every day. And yet, you say we are independent. Africa is not independent, guys. We were given independence. We were given. Yes, we fought with blood, sweat, and tears. We lost a lot of blood, a lot of people. But those guys, they didn't go anywhere. They left with guns. They came back with money. It's the dangerous weapon than ever, because if somebody comes with gun, you can prepare yourself to fight back. But if someone comes with money, you accept and you embrace them like a savior. That you're coming to save us. You're coming to save Africa's economy. You're coming to save our economies. You're coming to give us light. You are going to be accepted like a savior. Today, the white man can come to Africa and be treated like a king. And I can go to another country in Africa and being treated like a slave simply because I'm an African from another African country. Nobody's going to give a shit about me because I'm coming from another African country. But today, white men will come to Africa and being celebrated, being treated well. I'll go to the shop to want to buy something. I'll go to the shop to eat, and I'll be asked to pay money before I eat. Because I'm black, I will eat maybe and I'll run away without paying money. And the white men will come there next to me, will eat whatever they want to eat and pay after they eat. We do that in Africa. They do that in Tanzania. I've seen it, I've witnessed it. I always get annoyed when I see it. So do you think I'm not going to pay your money? It's happening in Africa. I gave you independence after killing 1,000 and 1,000 of your people. I took my gun, I brought it back, and I took money. I came with money. It's the most dangerous weapon you've ever seen, guys. Money is the most dangerous weapon. And that is what killing our people. And that is why our people are selling each other. Our own people, we are betraying one another just for money, just for papers. You know, I think that's why God, maybe he's not giving me money. Because some of you are sitting there. Maybe that's the reason. I don't know. God must be teaching me a lesson. God must be teaching me a lesson. It's the most dangerous thing. It's more dangerous than gun. Money. Money, guys. If they came with guns again, we were already at work, guys. Already at work. We already experienced colonialism with guns and our people being killed. We have already seen it. We have already experienced our dads, our moms, our grandpas. They died. Our forefathers, they died because of that. So Patrice Lumumba, how he was killed and how he was burnt. But that government of Belgium, our people sold them. For what? Today, my life is in danger for saying what I'm saying right now. Your life will be in danger if you say what I say right now, today. And yet, Africa, we are independent. How many times we have been kicked out of social medias? How many times have been blocked? Just because we said something that was not right. Yet, Africa, we're independent. Let me continue with this article. Today, by contrast, Africa is in the process of returning as a subject of history, with more than 1 billion inhabitants, representing 18% of the world's population. Africa is regaining the place it occupied at the beginning of the 16th century. Then, with 100 million people, it represents 20% of the world's population. By the middle of the 19th century, after more than 200 years of colonialism and slavery, guys, pay attention to this. By the middle of the 19th century, after more than 200 years of colonialism and slavery, Africa's population had fallen to 95 million, just 9% of the world total, whereas other continents had experienced a large population increase over the same period. Pay attention to this, to the whole thing. I'm going to read again slowly. Today, by contrast, Africa is in the process of returning as a subject of history. With more than 1 billion inhabitants, representing 18% of the world's population, Africa is regaining the place it occupied at the beginning of the 16th century. Then, with 100 million people, it represented 20% of the world's population. Then, 16th century. By the mid of 19th century, after more than 200 years of colonialism and slavery, Africa's population had fallen to 95 million. Guys, 16th century, we were 100 million. 19th century, it fell all the way to 95 million. That's a couple centuries there, like 3 centuries. 5 million. You know, we are supposed to increase actually as days goes on, you know what I'm saying? If today our population is 100 million people, 10 years later, it's supposed to be more than that. because that's how it is. In Tanzania, we just received our results. We were doing like censorship, like counting all Tanzanians, and the number of Tanzanians right now is 61 million and something. We used to be lesser than that, but now as days goes on, the number is supposed to be increased. 16th century was 100 million people, but 19th century, after more than 200 years of colonialism and slavery. So that means our people died, our people were taken, and they were moved away from the continent. Africa's population had fallen to 95, while the total population of the other continents, they were increased. Do you understand what is happening there? Or do you want me to explain to you? You all are smart people, you understand what is happening. Economically, Sub-Saharan Africa has experienced a decade of 5% to 6% average annual growth in its gross domestic product. Oh, they mentioned my country. In Tanzania, growth this year, that was 2014, should be around 7%, at a time when the major emerging economies, with the exception of China, are facing a sharp slowdown. Africa, with its untapped energy resources and precious raw materials, including rare earth minerals, has naturally become a focus of investors' attention. And that's what I was talking at the beginning. But though Africa can be described as a continent of hope, listen to this, guys. Though Africa can be described as a continent of hope, it is unlikely to become the new Asia. That is a long-term dynamo of a global growth, for a combination of cultural, political, geopolitical, and perhaps psychological reason. Let's dive into that. Asia has experienced the historical continuum of great empires. China is the best illustration at this phenomenon. It is the reimagining power, not an emerging one, a decisive factor that explains Chinese confidence. Asia's long history of rivalry and competition among its various powers has also been an important factor in its recent economic success. The dynamic of competition and emulation among China, Japan, and South Korea has not existed in peaceful, reconciled post-Second World War Europe. There is nothing like that in Africa either. Nigeria is not Africa's equivalent of what China is for Asia, and post-apartheid South Africa, for all its progress, has not fulfilled the expectations placed on it and remain unlikely to become the continent's gender. Colonialism and the slave trade constitute a historical rupture for Africa. Beyond the human toll, including 10 to 15 million direct victims, absolute subjugation begat a unique loss of confidence. Who today can name Africa's great empires and kingdoms? Who knows where the world's gold came from before its discovery in Latin America in the 16th century? This is a really important question right here. Who today can name Africa's great empires and kingdoms? That's why I say this yesterday. I mentioned this yesterday on the live stream. That the history of Africa today, even when you go to the African Museum in America, you know where it starts? It starts as a slave. That's the history where it begins. As a slave. But the history of Africa didn't start as a slave. It started as king. We were kings and queens. That Africa used to be. But today, our people, we cannot even name Africa's great empires and kingdoms. I shared with you guys that the Congo Kingdom, guys, it was all the way to Angola Kingdom right there. It was one. Today you have Angola, you have Congo, you have this. But it was one country. It was one big, huge kingdom with so much power. Kings and queens reigned of Africa. That's who you used to. That's who we used to be. We didn't have visa and passport to visit another country. We did barter trade with one country and another. We sent this kingdom, they marry another kingdom to collaborate, to strengthening their power and to rule forever. That's Africa we used to be. When we made mistake, our parents taught us with stories. Some of them, those stories were lies, but some of them were truth. The story, African stories, they're always good, but they always have some sort of teaching in it. That if your parents want to tell you do not steal, they'll teach you in a way that you will never think, even for a single moment, to steal anything. They will teach you, they will tell you the story. I remember my dad was reading stories for us. The stories of going to hell if you sin. My dad is a pastor, guys. So he was using that against us. But reading that, and then I'll be scared of hell, that I don't want to go to hell. So then what should I do? Oh, I should run to Jesus. But it helped me. That's how our parents taught us. Every single night, my dad will open the book and we start reading all these African stories. Beautiful stories. Where are those stories today? Today we are watching Disney. And the stories of those cartoons that we show to our kids, there's LGBT agendas there. There's all this culture that is not belong to us, that we embrace, that we take them. And our kids, when they're just little kids, guys, let me tell you this, man. If you have kids, don't let them watch cartoons, man. Don't let them watch those cartoons, the Disney. Don't let them watch them. There's so many evil agendas that are in there. And our kids, when they watch them, they will never forget. They create something in them. When you go and you watch Netflix movie, be careful. If you're watching with your kids, be careful what you're looking at. So these days, you can see the agenda. The agenda is clear. Go on Netflix movie. Every movie you watch, you see the agendas. You see the agendas of every single movie. The kids, these are kids, like the kids, man. See the kids, a little kid girl kissing another little kid girl, and we are watching that. And the first time when you watch, like, oh. But the more you continue to watch it, man, it becomes normal. You even celebrate. Oh, you say, I wish them they're together. The agenda is already successful. Brainwashed for so long, Africa. Since colonialism until today. We don't promote our own movie sectors. We would rather promote next Netflix movie. I mean, if you have your own country's movie in Netflix, that's cool. But even those these days, they have different agendas. Who today can name Africa's great empires and kingdom? That's why our agenda, that's how our campaign is reimagining Africa, rebranding Africa to where it used to be. Remember who you are, you as an African. You are the king. You are the queen. That's the bloodline, man, we got, Africa. We used to be in great empires. In my tribe back home, this guy, he fought against the Germans back then. He was one of the strongest men. The chief Mkwawa, he was the chief of my tribe. This guy, he was more powerful. He was really powerful. He was really smart. The chief, man, when you go to Africa's story, go and read the stories of chiefs. How they fought against this colonialism. How they led our places, how they led our countries. These guys were heroes, man. These stories, we don't talk about them anymore. We only know about Mandela. We only know about Nyerere. We only know about Nkrumah. We only know about Haile Selassie. We only know about all these big leaders. But we had our chiefs that they were leading our clans. These guys were never fighting with one another. They always find a way. If one clan was fighting against another clan, you know what they did? They married each other. They were like, you know what? Let's not fight against each other. I'll give you my daughter. You give us your son. They will do that. They will solve the peace. That's how Africa we used to do. That's how we used to operate. Africa must find the confidence. Yes, here. Let me continue to read here to finish. Africa must find the confidence it desperately needs in the way others look at it. The problem is that others are abysmally ignorant about the continent's pre-colonial past. Man, this is the Frenchman writing this article, man. This is the Frenchman writing this article. He knows what they have done. He said this, man. Africa must find its confidence. Look at this. This is what he says. Africa must find the confidence it desperately needs in the way others look at it. The problem is that others are abysmally ignorant about the continent's pre-colonial past. How much do you know about Africa before colonialism? Man, I'm going to write about every single chief, man. I have the pictures of every single chief back then in Africa before colonialism. And you know, one of the chiefs in my own country, she was a woman. She was a chief, man. I was looking at that and I was like, dang, man. Man, this is Africa. The chief was a woman in Tanzania back in the days. Do you know, man? Today we all believe, yes, we talk about the concept of feminism, we talk all the time, but man, how Africa we used to be, pre-colonial past. I'm not saying that we don't have issues that we need to work on. We do have. But man, I was struck. I was shocked. Africa must find the confidence it desperately needs in the way others look at it. The problem is that others are abysmally ignorant about the continent pre-colonial past. Man, let me see this word, man. I've never seen this word in my life. Let me see what the heck is this word? I wish I was reading here in Swahili. If you don't know,
abysmally.
Abysmally. Okay, abysmally. The meaning of this word is in an extremely bad way. Okay, in an extremely bad way. So abysmally. Extremely bad way. If you're like me. In a very bad way, ignorant, Africa must find the confidence it desperately needs in the way others look at it. The problem is that others are extremely badly ignorant about the continent's pre-colonial past. One may criticize the cynicism of the Chinese, but it is China that has contributed more than any other country to the transformation of Africa's self-image. For that, I cannot say no, even though I still don't support Chinese in our continent. For that, I cannot say no, all right? But I still don't support. I still think we need to develop on our own. At least we need to cut better deals with this. And this guy is the Frenchman. Let me see. Let me show you guys this guy. This guy, his name is Dominique Moïse. He was born on 21st October, 1946. I never heard this guy before. He's a French political scientist and writer. He was also co-founder and a senior advisor of the Paris-based Institute Franca Relation International. So this guy is writing. I love the way he wrote this article. All right. I love this part, the last part. Today, it is Africa themselves. This guy said today it is Africans themselves who hold their continent's future in their hand. And as Africa returns as a subject rather than an object of world history, it appears to embody all the fears and hopes of humanity. Everything is there in extremely form: desertifications, mass movements of populations, and yes, genocidal violence, but also the hope for the new form of economic growth, if not new modes of governance. Man. This guy is right on point. This last line, let me copy this line and paste. This line here, I need to put here for you guys to see. I need to put right here for you guys to see. I love this. I even shared on my social media. Today, it is Africans themselves who hold their continent's future in their hands. Guys, are you African? Today, it is you, African. It is you, African, who hold the continent's future in your hands. If you do not understand me, why I'm doing what I'm doing, if you do not understand us, why we are doing what we are doing, because we are holding the future of our continent and the future of our kids and children. In our hands, guys. And as the Africa returns as a subject rather than an object of a world history, it appears to embody all the fears and the hopes of humanity. Everything in there in extremely form. Guys, look at what is happening right now in Africa, man. Look at how many civil wars going on in Africa right now. Look at how many threats, how many battles, how many we're losing lives. Look at that, man. The future of Africa is in our hands. Are we really independent? Let me ask you this difficult question. Are you really willing to die for your people? Are you really willing to die standing and fighting for the future of this continent? Are you willing? Are you willing to give, to put your life on the line and to fight for the future of continent? Because I'm telling you, man, if you're not afraid of death, if you're not afraid of death, you're not afraid of anyone but God. Somebody said this. He said that, you know, the reason why they're afraid because we do not afraid. They're afraid because we do not afraid. If you are afraid, you're not going to stand for Africa. It has been 3 years. I came publicly fighting for Africa. Before that, it has been 9 years plus. I've been fighting behind the scenes. 3 years I came out and start to fight for Africa publicly. And my face is all over the media, is all over everywhere. Everybody knows my face. But I'll tell you this one thing, man. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. One day I said this, I came here and I said, be ready for the war, man. Be ready for attacks. Be ready for everything that they're going to pull on us. They're going to pull on me. Be ready. But you know what? I am not afraid. Some of you, you turn away. Some people, they already turn away. But some of you will stay. But by hooks and crooks, Africa's future is in my hand. Africa's future is in your hand. And you should be ready, and you should not be afraid for anything. And especially, you should not be afraid of death. That's why God is at the center of this organization. That's why God is on that logo right there. That's the fear of God right there. The fear of God is what truly matters. I don't fear of men. I don't care who you are. I don't care what name do you have. I don't care what government you're leading. I don't care where you're living. I'm not scared. I'm not feared of anything. I fear God. And this is the mission. And this is the purpose. It is a life with a purpose. To fight for Africa's future. To fight for our kids. To fight for the future of this continent, man. Do you understand what business we are in? If you are afraid of death, you cannot fight for Africa. It has been 3 years, guys, fighting publicly. Let me tell you this, guys. Things I talk about is not even close to what I know about Africa. It's not. There's the right time we'll talk about them. 3 years of loving and fighting for Africa publicly. God is so faithful. God is so good. Because I have discovered, I have heard, I have seen so many things that are scary. Top secrets that are scary. And you guys, most of you guys, you know too. And you're not willing to talk about them. Because maybe you're scared that the fear of men is what is going to kill Africa. When you fight with people who are not afraid of anything, you already lose the battle. Do you know why Americans, they lost to Vietnam? Even though Vietnamese, they lost so many people than Americans. Because Americans, they're fighting to win a battle. But Vietnamese, they were fighting for their lives. It's a big difference. You can fight to win a battle, and you can kill a lot of people, but they have to walk away. Because Vietnamese, they were fighting for their lives. They're fighting for their lives. It was the only thing they got, and they're fighting for it with everything they got. And they won. Africa, we have to be like Vietnamese. We have to fight for everything we got. Not necessarily, I'm not talking about guns and all this stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what I'm doing right now, what we are doing right now. Africa, we have to become one. We need one Africa, because that is the answer. If we are not colonized right now, let's take steps. It's a challenge to African Union. If we are not under colonization, let's take steps. Let's have the common passport. Let's have our common currency. We can do that. Africans, we are ready to give our own money for it. I made a research today. Let me show you guys. I made a research. Let me start with YouTube. Whoever number voted, if you guys, you voted, I shared something here on YouTube today in the community tab. Africa, we are ready. Let this be heard to African Union. Let this be heard to African Union, because we are ready. Why we are ready? Because we are tired. We are tired of the death. We are tired of losing our people. I am tired. Every single day coming, let me tell you this, guys. I had to tell, guys, I'm not proud about this. I had to tell my team, this Swahili nation, I had to tell them that, guys, stop. Let's not share this negative news on our medias. I had to tell them, stop. All the news, man, if you go to our social media, our Instagram, our Twitter, if you go there, every single day, man, I'm in the group of this news. We're sharing news. Every single day, it's negative news about Africa. How many people die? Ebola here. Somali people die here. Ethiopia people die here. This every single day. I had to tell them, guys, stop. Out of 10 news, 9 share good news and 1 share bad news. Because that's what you can find outside there everywhere. But you know what the challenge? We cannot find even good news. We cannot find good news. We cannot find. But it's a challenge to my team that, hey guys, you media guys, no more negative news. Forget about that. How many people die because of hunger? Forget about that. That's what you find in BBC everywhere. Don't share those news. Let's share good news about Africa. I tell them. And now that's what we're going to focus on. Are we aware of what's going on in Africa? We are aware of that, but we're not going to share about that. Why should we share that? And you can find that anywhere. That's the only thing you can find. So it's a challenge for journalists to really dig deep, because we have good news everywhere. I always say focus on the light. And that's why I had to stop the news, because it's kind of like we're focusing on the darkness. It's a dark right there, and we cannot continue to promote dark. You cannot overcome darkness by promoting darkness. Cannot. Let me share. I asked today, let this be a challenge to African Union. And I will tweet this later. How many of you are willing to pay for African Union passport as a gesture of fund our organization? Africa Solutions to African Problems start with us funding African Union and not the West. We need African Union passport. Look at this, 452 people vote. They voted, 452. 94% they say yes. 6% they say no. Pretty much this 6%, maybe they're not even African. Anyways, oh, they might be African. You never know, because you always have Judas. 94% they say yes. Do you see that? Africans, 452 people voted. Africans, we are ready to pay any amount of money for this passport to support our organization, to support African Union, because that money will be used for the good work, for the plan that we see, that they say this is the plan. We need that plan to work. And we Africans, we need to fund African Union to do their work. Not the West, not European Union, not IMF, not anybody like that. No, Africans, we need to fund this organization. We need to do it. 94% of the people who vote here, they said, yes, I am willing to pay for my African Union passport. So what is there to hinder African Union? What is there to hinder you to create this African passport? What is the reason why we cannot create this? What the reason? Give me another reason, because people are willing to give their own money to pay for it. Give me another reason. Give me another reason. Don't say about finance. We are willing to pay our money to get that passport. I know Africans. We are not naive. We are tired of division. We are tired of this division that is happening in Africa. We are willing to pay money for our African Union passport. 94% right here. Let me go on Twitter now. I share the same thing. If you haven't voted, please go and vote. For some people, they're just good at ignoring posts like this. Go and vote if you haven't. Let me go on Twitter. I posted on Twitter too. Oh, we are live even on Twitter. Oh, thank God. All right, here, right here, we are live on Twitter. In Twitter, 101 people vote. 101 people vote. And 95% of people, they say, yes, we're willing to pay. And 5%, they say, no, we're not willing to pay. Guys, 95%, guys. And it's kind of like prophetic number, because right now I'm looking at the comments. It's 95 comments here. 95 comments, 95%. They say, yes, we are willing to pay for African Union passports. What is the hindrance, African Union? I tagged you on this post right there. We want to fund you, African Union. Do you understand that? We want to give our money to fund you, but you need to stop receiving all these funds from elsewhere. Ethiopians, they came together and fund their own dam. And they built it. A lot of billions of money. The whole Africa, we cannot fund African Union. We cannot fund African Union. You know what we're supposed to do? Even our countries, we're supposed to pay taxi. Each country in Africa is supposed to pay taxi, and that taxi goes to African Union. It's the fund for African Union. Implement taxi to every single country. That money to be the African Union money, to support the work we're doing, to stop receiving all these funds, to start operating on our own. I don't know, guys. I know what I'm saying here. It sounds good, but I don't know how far we went. I don't know if African Union went too far that he cannot do that anymore. If that is the case, we need to start another organization. Perhaps it could be One Africa. If that's the case, if it's not the case, then we stop receiving funds. Our people, we pay for our own organization. It's a time to do that. All these countries that are an African Union member, they're supposed to be paying taxes. Maybe they're paying. I don't know. I'm not, part of African Union or whatever. But if you're part of African Union, maybe you can tell me. Maybe they're paying. Those taxes can be African Union funds, because that's how we run our countries. And not only that, man. Look at all these countries, all the richness we have. And we have Organization African Union. Why not African Union taking care of all these projects? Why African Union, not them? If they are so authentic, why not them decide whoever investors come into Africa? Looking down to the contract. Put down contract. Look at it. Is it beneficial for our people? It's not. You're not coming. We keep our gold. We keep our diamond. We keep our oil. Man. But that begins by us funding our own union so that we have our own say for the union. Guys, I've not been sent here by the union, because some of you're not gonna, you start thinking that, oh, this guy, he went to African Union, he start talking about that. I'm not sent by anyone. I don't have contact with anyone from African Union. I didn't talk to anyone in African Union. I have no idea even who is who. I don't know. I don't follow them. I don't do that. I'm busy with my own mission. But I know when something is right. I know when I'm fighting for something right. And I know that African Union must stop receiving aids and donation from elsewhere. And us Africans, we're supposed to start feeding Africa. Me, myself, I don't have income, but I'm willing to pay African Union. I don't have income, but I'm willing to pay to African Union. Where am I going to get that money? I'm going to do part-time jobs to pay that money to African Union, to support. Because this is my mission, guys. Do you understand that? 95% said, yes, we're willing to pay. If you haven't voted, you can go. You can vote on, because this is where we begin change. I tagged these guys. I'm going to talk other things about these votes. Because we need, this is the agenda right now. This is my agenda right now, to fight for African Union passport. This is my agenda right now. This is our agenda right now. We're fighting for one Africa. African Union, they're fighting for the same thing. If they're fighting for the same thing, then let's help you. All right. You want to know if people are willing to pay for money? We're going to ask people if they're willing to pay money. They're willing. 95%, they said yes. Make African Union passport. For those who say no, we're going to make African Union passport and you guys are not going to have them. Say no, you're not going to have them. You don't pay, you don't have it. That's simple like that. Why should we wait for everybody to say yes and then create African Union passport? No. I ain't going to wait for you to say yes. You say no, it's okay. Go on your way. I'm going to go on my way. Let's make you the African Union passport. That 5%, let them not have your African Union passport. If they don't want to be African, let them go. Let them get out of here. You don't want to be African? Get out of here. Don't want to be Africa? People are dying for Africa and you don't want to be Africa? What the hell is wrong with you? I'm talking to those who voted no. Nothing personal, but you have to look at the bigger picture, guys. There's a bigger picture here. So our agenda from yesterday, when I stood, when I sat at the African Union headquarters at HQ and gave that suggestion. And let me show you this video because I'm proud of myself. I didn't even think about it. It came naturally. So I'm proud of myself. Show you this video. Need African Union passports. Oh man, I had a very difficult session today. Okay, this one will be in, okay, let me share. I like this one because I put some music in the background. Let me see, where did I speak? Okay, here. Oh, come on, look at this, what it's starting to do right now.
I really appreciate that. My contribution goes to the African solutions to African problem. I think, it's almost impossible to have African solutions to African problem if we are not united, we are not one Africa. For so long, for example, we've been wanting the seats at the United, Security Council, and these guys, they're not taking us serious because, in fact, we are not really one. I speak to youth all the time across the continent of Africa, and I'm not going to mention countries, but, some of us, for instance, I am from Tanzania, right? But some of us, our parents are teaching us that, you are from Tanzania, you are Tanzanian, and they are African. Some people have been growing up in an environment like that, believing that they are Tanzanians, but they're not Africans. That's just for instance, right? And so in order for us to have this African solution to African problem, I think the first thing we need to focus on the unity of, one Africa. And how can we get that? Yes, we already have Organization African Union, but I think we need something better than that. We need to give our people, African people, the sense of unity for us to feel like we are united. Today we have these different parts, like northern part, eastern part of Africa, southern and east. And sometimes it's difficult when you want to try to go to the other side of Africa. And how can we give each other the sense of African unity? My suggestion is just one thing, that we already have an organization from African Union, and we have 55 different countries, member states, of this organization. Why don't we have African Union passports? I can have my Tanzanian passport, you can have your Sudanese passport, but we can also have African Union passport. Once we do that, I'm pretty sure that it will give us a sense of that unity. Like us as Africans, when we meet, maybe outside of Africa, or when I go to different country, I see another Libyan brother right there, he's having like African Union passport. It gives me a sense of us being united together. And when we move forward to start demanding things, start demanding for respect, demanding for seats, these people, they will take us serious because they see that we are actually serious when we talk about African Union and African unity, because we are taking steps. My brother has spoken about, the central bank, African Central Bank. All these are different, things that we can actually agree. We already have an organization, and I don't see any problem of us to have the single identity representing us through African Union passport, all of us together, to remind us of our unity, and so that we may continue to fight all these battles that we are facing every single day. Thank you.
Let me tell you something that will shock you. When I say this, nobody clapped at the end of what I say. Nobody clapped. My thought is this, is that maybe some of the youth there, they thought it was a crazy idea. Or maybe I said something really difficult to understand. Or maybe my English was not understandable. Nobody clapped. But I know it's right thing. And I know we must have the African Union passport. It doesn't have to be African Union passport, it can be African passport. That's it. Outside there, the passport is just like our East African Community passport. It says East African Community passport, the Republic United of Tanzania. That's how it's written. So you can read in the African Union passport, the Republic United of Tanzania. So that passport, you just need that one. The other day I said you can have two, like your own country. You just have that one because it shows your country there and shows that this is African Union passport. You can go with it anywhere. It doesn't matter whether they meant. It doesn't matter whether if you want to travel, you go to Europe or whatever, they have issue with your African Union. It doesn't matter. You have your country right there. And I'll keep pushing for that. And as we keep pushing for that, always remember these two things. These two things God has been speaking to me ever since I got here to Ethiopia. And I didn't even know. I was just writing. The first thing, focus on the light. And I spoke a little bit about the light. The light. Let me show you why I'm telling you focus on the light. This is why you should focus on the light.
Okay, let me tell you this, guys. Darkness has no power. Darkness has no power at all. Like darkness, it has no power. Why? If you're in the deep darkness, all right, you don't see anything. You don't see where you're going. You don't see what is next to you. And then you just turn light. In 1 second, that darkness disappears. So do you understand the importance of light in the midst of darkness? Okay, on the other hand, if you have light, it doesn't matter how much there's a deep darkness. It doesn't matter, but you always see something as long as there's a light. This is to tell you that, guys, in the midst of darkness, there's these bright moments that happen, and our job is to focus on that. Sometimes, there'll be a time we'll talk about the issues and everything and the struggles that are happening and how can we get over this. And there will be a time that we channel our energy and we channel our hearts to something good that is happening.
That is why you should focus on the light. And second, remember who you are. Every single thing I shared with you today, I want you to remember that you're a king and you're a queen. I want you to remember that you are not a slave. I want you to remember that you have a right. This is your land. I want you to remember that every single wealth you have in your country, whether it's gold, whether it's whatever resources you have, those belong to you. I want you to remember that. That's who you are. That's what God has given it to you. I want you to demand. I want you to ask. I want you to stand. I want you to fight for it as if there's no tomorrow. Because you're fighting for your generation. You're fighting for Africa's future. Africa's future is in our hands, not in the hands of Chinese, not in the hands of Russia, not in the hands of Americans or Europeans or IMF. No, Africa's future is in your hands. Nobody's here to develop you. Nobody's there to support you. Nobody's there to give you a loan and aid. There's no such a thing in this world. No. Only Jesus Christ paid the price. He died on the cross for our sins. But nobody else there will do anything like that, even closer to that. No one. They ain't Jesus. Get that in your mind. I don't care who you are, even me. I'm trying to be like him, but I'm not him. Focus on the light and remember who you are. As we reimagining Africa, as we rebranding Africa, as we going back to where we used to be, to where we're supposed to be, I want us to remember this. I want to appreciate, I've seen one person join a membership today. Tezept Warrior, you know, I was not looking at the comments. I just opened the comments recently. Tezept Warrior, appreciate. Thank you for joining and becoming a member. We love you. We appreciate you. Every single person with a little badge in front of their name, and the name they kind of like, they have different color like this. These are members. These are people who are actually contributing a certain amount of money every month to support what we're doing here. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you too, Zebek Warrior, for becoming a member and, you know, to support, you know, what we're doing. You know, guys, you know, the day God calls me home, I'm really happy right now. I'm the happiest man on earth, and yet I don't have anything. But I'm happy as man on earth. I'm talking about materialistically. Like, I don't have anything. The day God calls me home, I'll die with a big smile on my face, even if I don't have house, even if I don't have wife, or I don't have kids, even if I don't have anything, I will die with a bright smile on my face, knowing that I've done my mission. I've played my part. The brightest smile, because I know that I've done the purpose I was called for. I was not called to be rich, guys. I was not called to have all these things. All these things, I'm saying that, I'm not saying that it's not necessary. It's good to have. But my purpose, I was called to unite Africans, to unite people. I've always been doing that throughout my life. In my family, I've always brought family together. Always. The first time I brought my family together, you know, our family was scattered everywhere, like all over the world. And you know what I did? What I did is I bought smartphone to everybody in the member of the family. All the members of the family, I bought smartphone. And you know what we did? We created this WhatsApp group that we communicate all the time. But you know what else we did? I called my family. You know, you can call like group call, right? Not even the WhatsApp, like just the normal call. So I call my entire family, even my grandma, together in the same phone, and we just talk. We just talk, we just share, we just pray for one another. And that was the plan, to do every single Saturday. Yes, we didn't do every single Saturday, but that's what I was called for. Everywhere I went, when I looked, I came to understand this like 2 years ago. But throughout my life, even before knowing my purpose, I was always uniting people. I was leading this one team in one of the churches in South Korea. And these two people, they were actually not getting along. Like two ladies, they're both playing piano, but they were not getting along. They were hating one another. I always wanted to bring people together. I always went into other people's business. I was like, you guys, come on, man. You guys, you don't talk, you're affecting the team. I brought them together one day, brought coffee for them, and I left them for like 1 hour. I was like, you guys, I'm not leaving until you guys, you settle your things. I'll be waiting for you in that table. These people right now, they're good friends. They love one another. Again, in the same team, I had two people who one person just didn't like another person. There was a time I was supposed to take a break. So I took a break from the team and I left the team to another leader. And this one girl, she hated that leader because she loved me so much. And she was like, no, Mika, how can you leave me? For me, I joined this team because of you and now you're leaving. No, I don't like him. You know what I did? These people, because they were not getting along, so all the time when we were standing to lead in front of the church, one person stood in this line, another person stood at the end of this line. But you know what I did? I told them in front of everybody that from today onward, you guys will stand together until you resolve your things. So these people, they're not okay, but all the time when you go to worship, they will stand together here to worship. I was just doing that. And these people, they came back to be good friends eventually. Because what happens when you don't like somebody, you create this distance. You create this proximity. But that proximity is a lie. That is the darkness that we focus on. Focus on the light. Go closer to those. Look at them at the face. Say, what did I do wrong to deserve this wrath from you? What did I do wrong? Talk to me. If there's something wrong I've done, talk to me. Tell me. Don't go and post on social media. Don't go and cuss me there. Don't go and trying to stay away from me. Tell me. What have I done wrong? Let's resolve it. Maybe you don't want us to become friends anymore. That's okay. We can not become friends. That's cool, but let's talk. I've always done that in my life. Not everybody, I'll tell you this, the truth, man. Guys, I don't hate anyone. There are people I don't talk to, but maybe they hate me. But I don't hate them. Every person that don't talk to me, maybe either I hurt them or they hurt me. I always went back to talk to them. I always went back to reconcile. I always went back to broad peace, to want to bring peace. It worked sometimes, sometimes it didn't work. But I don't hate anyone. I made mistakes in the past. I apologized, and apologizing cannot change things. I understand that sometimes you need to pay the price of what you have done. But I don't hate anyone. I don't have any, because my mission has always been to bring people together. Even when I was a little kid, even when I didn't know. I didn't just wake up in the day and I was like, I'm going to start fighting for Ethiopia. I was called a long time ago when I was 5 years old. God called me to do this. And so I will stop there. I don't have to talk a lot about that. I'm the one, I know my calling. So do you know your calling? Some of you, maybe you're just called to support my calling. Maybe that's your calling. Some of you, maybe you're called to stand with me in this journey. And some of you, like our Tezept warrior here, and some of you who are here all the time, these people have family, have their jobs, have things they're doing, but every single day you'll find people here texting, find people here replying. Maybe you guys, you know my calling because I talk about it. I don't know your callings. You know, the matter of the fact, let me share the link here. I'm going to share the link right now. And I want the person who will come here to share with me your calling. What is your calling? Just start. What is your calling? If you're here, you have been joining us and you know your calling, who God called you to do, and you know your calling, you know your purpose, come here and tell me what. That's it. I want you guys to share. What is your calling? That's the only answer I'm asking you. Also, I appreciate Marit. Again, you know, I know yesterday you gave and today you gave again. Hebrew 11:6. Don't lose hope. Focus on the light. Let's read this. Hebrew 11:6. Guys, whatever you guys want me to read, I'll go ahead and read here. Hebrew 11:6. It says, "It is impossible to please God without faith. Anyone who wants to come to him must believe that God exists and that he rewards those who sincerely seek him. This is the verse of the day of today. I read this verse. It is impossible to please God. In another way, it's that you can please God with faith. That's another way of saying that. Okay, I have my sister here, BJ. She's ready in the room. She's going to share with us what is her calling. Because today, there's a way that God has called you, or there's a way that you know your purpose. And if you know, come and share with us here. So we'll move forward. Because I talk a lot about my calling, but I think I've never asked you guys about your calling. So I think this will be my first question to ask to anyone that I talk to these days, to know if there's a lot of people wants to volunteer, wants to work for Soil Nation and this and that. I'll ask them, what is your calling? It's very important to work with the right people. BJ, welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
I am good too.
Good. I love your videos. I love the you visiting Ottawa Museum. I think it's going to be totally amazing. But you said, what is my calling? And I kept asking myself along the path of my life, and really to just simplify it, my calling has always to show love and light in the midst of a storm and darkness. And in being and doing that, it fuels others to maybe go a different path or to just to hang on.
BJ, can you say that again?
Oh, you couldn't hear me?
Yeah. Can you repeat it? Say, what is your calling?
My calling is to show love and light in the midst of a storm, which shows people a path or a reason to hold on in the midst of trials and tribulation.
I love that. Maybe that's
why.
So
sometimes you don't get a direct, gratification because you're in the midst of the storm, but the rain eventually stops. And as long as you know you made an impact in someone else's life, you never know what that impact would then go into that next person's life, and it can change a directory of someone's, on the future.
Yeah. That's a beautiful calling. So I guess you really align with, these 2 points that we talk a lot about these days, focus on the light, because you said exactly, the same thing, that your calling is, to bring that light, in the midst of darkness and chaos, that our people have been there for a long time. And I think that's why.
And the thing is, with the darkness and the chaos, is to keep you paralyzed where you at, so you can't move, you can't think, because you're always reacting and fighting and reacting, and you don't have time to calm down to see, what is my objective, what are our goals. Because when you're in the midst of the battle, you're just trying to make it to the next spot so you can pull up your armor so you can get to the next spot, so you don't have time to really say, okay, how is this really benefiting me? And then many, you're paralyzed to the point that you don't move, and you just are stuck there, like you're stuck in the middle of cement and you can't move. And then others just fall back and say, hey, just give up the goat. What is the point of trying, because I've been sitting here and nothing's changed. But everything changed. You have to look closer. Everything changes. It may not be big, but if you could bind enough raindrops together, you're going to fill up a barrel. But how many people sit down and count that one raindrop? Nobody does that. But they drink all the water and are grateful for it.
Yeah. Amina Kabare is asking, how do you become a member? Let me share with you the link. And in the meantime, if there's anyone here who, you know your purpose, you know your calling, and you want to share with us, don't worry. Come in and share your purpose.
Yes, because we
and
all
share
have
this link of
purposes. We need to hear that. We need to know. Because sometimes people don't realize that I'm on the same plane that you're on. I'm doing the same thing that you're doing. You know, because
yeah.
again, the way this world is, the power that it holds is to make us feel like we're isolated and it's only me. But when you start seeing that there's others who think just like you, then you're like, oh, wait, maybe I'm not so, alone, or my thoughts are not so off the hidden path. Maybe there's more, and that's how you grow, and that's how a movement grows.
Yeah, yeah.
And when one person in that movement is tired, you know that the next person can pick up the barrel because they're on the same path and in the same direction that you're going.
Yeah, absolutely. Amina Kababe, I'll just share the link. This is how you can join and become a member. Oh, actually, let me show you a little bit. When I write a long message, it's not sent. How can I send my idea for you, Mika? Oh, you can actually send in the email, or you can send right here in small, like in small messages. Let me see here how I can show you. Total members. Oh, we have 45 members right now. Let me show you the different kinds of memberships that you can join. I love you guys. BJ, thank you so much for sharing your purpose and your calling.
Oh, thank you for having me. You take care now.
This is really beautiful, because I think, when people hear about this, it really inspires, others to actually dig down and to know who they're called to be and what are their purpose and all those stuff. So I appreciate it.
And look within, because a lot of times we, even we go to the minister, we ask our professors, what is my, you asking others, and they want this big long philosophical, thesis of what I'm supposed to do. Look within. If you look within, you will know. It's not complex. And stick with it. Take care.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah. Trying to search for membership. Where is it? Can I see this? Thank you, BJ. I have another. I have Marit here as well. Marit, welcome, my sister. How are you today?
Hi. Yes, I'm fine. I just finished work, so now doing my walk with my dog. And well, I just heard your question about my calling. So I thought, well, let's call in then and share a little bit. I think my calling is to help people find their identity in God and to know that we are loved. And that's why I always have in my profile, blessed to be a blessing. And I try to live up to that as well, to help encourage people. Yeah, that's basically what I do. And well, I found that on the way, like living. And then, yeah, I think it's something that suits me, and it's something God wants me to do. So yeah, then it becomes easier, you know, if you're walking in your calling. That's true.
Yeah, indeed. You know, 100%. And I'm witness for you leaving your purpose and your calling. You know, something that you've always done and you're always doing. So God bless you for that. You know,
thank you. It's by God's grace.
Indeed, glory to God, glory to God. When you look at, if you have two people, you have this one person who is living out his or her calling, and then you have this person who is don't know the calling or whatever. All of us will know what, you know, one day down on the road. It's like it's totally two different lifestyles.
Yeah, that's true. And also it gives you some sort of like calmness or something, you know, like when I didn't know what I supposed to do, you know, I was just living my life and everything went fine. But since I became more aligned with what I'm supposed to do, it gives me much more rest. And well, I feel more aligned with my purpose, actually. So yeah, I think that's what God's giving you then when you're in the right path.
Yeah.
So anything else?
No, that was the only question for today.
Okay. Well, then I continue to listen and continue my walk.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you so much for all you're doing. God bless.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you so much.
See you later. Okay.
See you later. Oh, Jonathan is I'll pay for the 6 months. Thank you for that, Jonathan. My brother. Most of y'all have been members for a long time here. Zuena Nyomolelo says, Mika Chavala, I love what you're doing. May God keep on showing you the way. Amen, amen, amen. Mika, we are ready to support you by anything from Ethiopia. Thank you so much, Liu. You guys have been the strong, solid for a while now, and I appreciate that. We are with you until we achieve our goal, one Africa, one passport. I love that. That's the push we have right now, all right? We say one Africa, one passport. That's the push we have right now. We need African Union passport. We need one passport for our people. We need that. And I'm telling you guys, remember this. When we get that, remember that we are standing for that. Remember that we have spoken for that. Remember that we are pushing for that. We need one Africa passport. Yeah, so Liu, you can send message to me like Mika Chavala at sn1africa.com. You can send to me there. Okay. I'm actually looking at the emails here. All right. Okay. All right, guys. So I will end here for today. One Africa, one passport. Pull down the walls of Jericho. Amen to that. Swahili Nation, you got my message about America, pressure on African countries. Man, that's the message I was talking about today, the whole this live stream. Zacharias. That's the whole message I was talking about today. So go and watch this stream from the beginning, and we try to put timestamps at the end for you guys to get the message, whatever you want to see. All right. Okay, guys. I'm just gonna raise a word of prayer, and then I'll be getting out of here. God, I thank you for a beautiful day that you have given us. Thank you for One Africa, One Passport. Oh, yeah. And we thank you that you are guiding us and leading us this direction, and we are ready. We only fear you. We only love you. And we only follow you. So guide us in our purpose and our mission to live out the life you want us to for the future of this beautiful continent and even the present. I thank you for this army that you're creating. Thank you for these beautiful men and women who are coming here, joining in, standing for Africa. Give us strength, give us wisdom to keep fighting this war that we're fighting on. In your precious name I pray. Jesus Christ, amen. All right. Exactly. One Africa, one passport. That will be our say right now. If I say one Africa, one passport. All right, that's what we say. That one Africa, one passport. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Thank you, guys. I love you. You sound like a preacher. Are you? Man, I'm preaching right now here. See? Every single thing you see in this physical world, well, what the hell this bee came from? It's like it has been sent. Everything you see in this world, it has its roots in a spiritual world. It's either you're on the left side or right side. So, yeah. You're either working for the devil or you're working for God. There's no middle ground. Yeah. I actually have another meeting right now, another recording to do the show. So I'm just texting that I finished. All right, guys. I love you. I love you. I love you. Spread love. And always remember, one Africa, one passport. Let's push for that. For me, I see that happening, man. Can happen that. All right. Bye-bye, guys. I love you.